past few months, there have been several domestic acts of terrorism that many of you haven't even heard of. Many could argue it's because they were either diverted or unsuccessful, and that is why they flew under the radar. But then you look at the attempted bomber in Times Square who blew himself up, but his lack of success didn't stop Donald Trump or other conservatives from lambasting him as the scumbag he is. So then when you look at the diverted airport bomber in North Carolina, or the attempted terrorist attack that took place aboard an Amtrak train leaving California, who by the way was ever so discreetly charged with terrorism, you begin to ask yourself, why is Donnie not tweeting about those failed attacks? And why does it take a few minutes of scrolling through Google to get the details of these attempted terrorist attacks? And then you realize, white dude, white dude, white dude. The first attack that flew under Trump's, if he's not brown I don't care about it, radar, it took place in Asheville Regional Airport in North Carolina, where a white man carried a bag filled with an improvised explosive, entered the airport, dropped it, then left. Investigators eventually found that in the bag was an ammonium nitrate fuel oil explosive that, according to criminal complaint, have been used in a number of terrorist-related incidents around the world. When one of these explosive devices come into contact with a flame or ignition source, it explodes violently, and nails or ball bearings are often items added to the device so that it increases the chance of devastation. Thankfully, authorities located the bag and disarmed the device before it was scheduled to detonate at 6 a.m. that morning, just as a fresh round of travelers were scheduled to arrive at the airport. But I'm sure you heard of this though, right? I mean, his face was plastered all over social media as a terrorist, right? The second example involves a white supremacist by the name of Taylor Michael Wilson from St. Charles, Missouri, who, by the way, breached a secure area in an Amtrak train on October 22nd while armed with a gun and plenty of backup ammunition. Thankfully, Amtrak workers found the man fully loaded with weapons, playing with controls, and bravely pinned him to the ground. It was later that investigators found that this tool traveled with an alt-right neo-Nazi group to the deadly Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, you know, where Donald Trump says the good people were. And he had a history of criminal offences involving him pointing a gun at a black woman during a road rage incident. Oh, and of course, I'm sure you read about it, he spoke of killing black people during recent protests against police violence in St. Louis. But not to worry, charges of terrorism were brought against him. You knew that, right? Wrong. Oh, you didn't? Well, maybe that's because when the federal terrorism charges were unsealed against Wilson last week, nobody talked about the case. One key reason is because the Justice Department didn't tell anyone. Because why would they? He wasn't a person of color or a Muslim, so how could they justify it? But this is what we have come to expect with this presidency. I mean, even in examples where the perpetrator is successful, companies like Fox News are so used to blowing the "it's a Muslim" dog whistle that they reported the attack in Quebec was committed by a Moroccan Muslim who yelled Allahu Akbar before killing people.
The masked man stormed in shouting Allah Akbar
without hesitation. But even once announcing that the terrorist was white, nobody gave a shit. No tweets from Trump, no calls for stricter laws, nothing. Not like the mass influx of tweets and comments you see after any Muslim extremist commits an act of horror. And the thing is, this is the most common form of domestic terror in the United States. These men are part of the group responsible for most homegrown terrorist acts. White extremists. But yet the president ignores them, the Justice Department quietly charges them with terrorism, and conservatives pretend it didn't happen. So these people are left to be anonymous. Well, not here. These men are terrorists, whether they succeeded or not. Their skin color does not protect them from being scrutinized in every facet possible. Follow me on Instagram at Francis M. Maxwell, and on Twitter also at Francis M. Maxwell. Like and share the video. Also, if you're following and watching this on my page, make sure to click on this tab. I will direct you here where you can see my videos first, with the new Facebook policies making it a little harder to see this Scott yelling at you. And as always, continue to resist.